Hi guys, I actually just came down from Genting with the BYD Seal. So I'm just going to share with you guys my experience on the range of the BYD Seal and also the the journey to Genting Highlands with an EV. What is the difference between an EV and also an ICE vehicle? Alright, for context, I used to drive a performance car, a Japanese performance car with a manual gearbox, which is pushing around 380 horsepower uphill Genting previously when I was slightly younger, right? And it's very hard to compare those style of cars and this car is because it's a totally different level. Performance-wise, this car is way better than the ICE car. Going uphill Genting, it is a breeze in an electric car. That is no doubt. But if you guys wanted more like driving engagement, of course the manual car is better. Alright, so first off, I will talk about the weakness of EV going uphill Genting. Right, so for the problem, for my particular car, the BYD Seal Performance, the downside of it is that the car is really heavy. So it feels like you're driving a Mercedes S-Class uphill Genting or either a Rolls-Royce. It is not something that you would do quickly, but it is a very relaxing drive. It's effortless. But then again, you have the power of the electric motor, which you can just punch it down and you can immediately sprint in front of anyone. So if let's say there is like a heavy traffic and there is a gap that you want to just squeeze through, it is quite easy for you to do that when you press the accelerator. But then again, you have to remember that your car is quite heavy, so you need slightly more braking distance from the car in front and from the corners, right? So you can't really attack the corners as fast as you would do, let's say, on a lighter car, right? Because back then when I was driving a manual car, I used to downshift to get the revs up so that the turbos could spool and you could able to tackle the corner slightly quicker. But on the straight line, EVs are still the king. We can't beat it. Alright? Okay, now we are talking about the range. So most people will also complain that EVs don't have the range. When you go up Genting, easily 50%, your battery is finished and stuff like that. Or either you reach Genting at around 30% left. So for my case, I actually charged the day before to 100%, and then I went to Damansara to drop off my grandma, and from there after lunch we went up to Genting. So the whole entire trip took me 40%. So I reached up Genting at 60%, right? Which you can see here. This is a snapshot of my mileage. Of course, take this into context. I'm not really doing a performance drive or a toge run. It is just a casual drive uphill Genting, right? So basically the consumption of 40% is a lot, but it's not more than expected. If you watch videos like YS Kong and stuff, you could see that the battery consumption is actually quite high if you were to keep pushing the car. Alright, now let's talk about the Regen downhill from Genting. I looked through a lot of videos and not many videos covered the Regen. So for Regen, when I go down from Genting, when I reached to the toll, I got back close to 5% battery.
At 65%, I got 330, and at 69%, I have 419 km. So I minus these two, I get 89 km. So I got Regen of 89 kilometers. So the journey from Genting to Karak toll is 36.4 km. I plus with 89 km I Regen, so I got a total back of 125 kilometers. So the mileage that I have now in Karak is at 170 kilometers on my odometer, and I Regen 125 kilometers. So basically, I just used 45 kilometers of range for my whole journey, uphill and downhill.
So that is actually the average consumption that you use for the journey. Of course, it also depends on driver. As for me, I had a lot of experience in hybrid cars before, so I actually drove very I try to maximize my range when I drive. to prove that actually EVs are actually suitable to do this type of trips. So for now, I'm going to talk about the difference between the ICE car and also the EV. Right. So for Genting run, it is very, very telling that which car is actually slightly better. Right. So for driving feel and control, obviously the lighter car is better. So ICE, I would say, better than an EV. Alright, but then again, the driving style of both cars are really, really different. The EV, basically the way you drive it, it is like you're using a sniper. You need to aim at where you're going and then you punch it, and you slow down before the corner. There's nothing much else that you can do, right? And as for the ICE cars, you could still drop gears and stuff like that to slow down the car, moving the traction or your grip of your car to the outer tires, or moving the load to the front or the back. So there is actually way more control on the ICE car. But then again, I think in the future, most EVs would outperform an ICE car, mainly because the biggest weakness in my experience is actually the weight of the EV. The weight of the EV really kills the joy of tackling corners, right? So if the solid state batteries, what most people said it will be coming, if that were to be really in this BYD Seal, I think it is going to be a awesome car to drive for Genting runs or even the track, right? But for engagement points, definitely ICE will take the win because there's more things to do, and more things to do does not mean it's always better. It just depends on preference. All right, so my arguments to anti-EV people are like this, right? You could have an arrow, a beautifully crafted arrow with diamond head and carbon fiber body and etc. It could be the most beautiful, best arrow in the world, but whatever it is still worse than a gun. The gun could do the job better and does not really need a lot of skills to it, right? So if you would compare with skills, of course you need more skill to shoot an arrow compared to a gun. But then again, if your end goal is to drive quickly or to shoot accurately and quickly, then of course the gun is better than an arrow. So basically that is the difference between an ICE car and an EV. Alright?
Okay, so basically I've reached my home, and overall I've done 374 kilometers, and I still have 19% of battery, and I have 109 kilometer range. So technically driving an EV uphill Genting and down again is really, really feasible. Alright, so that's about it. Thank you.
So if you guys have any more questions, you guys can leave down in the comments below, and I'll do my best to reply you guys. All right.